Good evening from Washington. I'm Larry O'Connor, and unlike Anderson Cooper, I'm glad you're watching this channel, and I suggest you keep doing it. More on him later. This has been an extraordinary week in American history as we've seen a disaster at our southern border, and we've also seen Congress and the president at locked horns over the debt issue and our budget, with the White House refusing to actually discuss and budge in any way whatsoever on what could be an existential threat to our budget and to our economy. One man can address all of those issues. He's one of our favorites. He's out of the Palmetto State, South Carolina. He's Congressman Ralph Norman. Congressman, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be with you, Larry.
I'm not just, giving you lip service. You are one of our favorites because you're honest, you're frank, you shoot from the hip, and my hope here is to somehow get you in trouble. Are you ready?
I'm ready to go. Any question at any time.
Let's start with our border, because I know how passionate you are about our immigration system, about our laws, and about maintaining our immigration laws and the security of our border. When you see what's transpiring right now under this president, do we effectively still have a border in the United States of America?
We do not. We haven't had a border, Larry, since this president took office 2.5 years ago. Title 42 ended. It never was really being enforced as any other of the barriers that this administration just lifted. You're right. What we passed yesterday was a bill that's the strongest immigration bill this country has ever passed. And I applaud the Republicans for passing it. It continues the wall. And Larry, I've been to the border. The steel is on the ground. The contractors have been paid, and this administration stopped the construction of something that is the only way to have a secure country with designated points of entry. And it hires more Border Patrol agents. It uses electronics, and this president is just intent on destroying this country through this invasion, and that's all you can call it.
Congressman, we've been talking about the border all week, of course, and one thing that keeps coming up is what's described as a loophole in our current law. That is this claim of asylum, where if somebody is apprehended, if they say the magic words, even crossing the border illegally, coming to this country, if they seek asylum, that automatically triggers some kind of process that right now is putting them on track to be in the country and await a hearing 4 years from now. Talk to me about the bill Republicans passed yesterday. Does this bill close that loophole? What is the new asylum provision in this bill?
The new asylum language in the bill actually has, if you claim that you are scared or have some type of issue with drug cartels, as an example, you get basically quarantined, and you have to, we will stop the process with you coming in. But now you can't claim that. But Larry, if you don't know who's coming in, and that's the fallacy of really everything going on now. The asylum laws worked when they were used, and a lot of them are legitimate. A lot of them are, particularly the minors, the females. But now it's a free-for-all. Everybody's in. They don't, to find out if they're using the asylum claim, it's being thwarted because they don't know who's coming in into our country. And that's what this administration wants.
We know that open border activists here in America employed lawyers to comb through our immigration laws during the Obama administration. They came up with this idea. Hey, from now on, anybody who crosses the border and they're apprehended illegally, go ahead and just claim asylum and you're good to go. The law hasn't changed. 20 years ago, they didn't claim asylum like this, but under the Obama administration, they have done that. So you've closed it now, you say, in this latest bill that got through the House. Dead on arrival in the Senate, Chuck Schumer just going to ignore it?
I hope not. I don't see how anybody that has a heart for people can see what's going on with the Guatemalans, as an example, the hundreds of thousands that are coming in. We've never faced this in this country. And the sad part, Larry, is with laws and with policies you can reverse. How do you reverse 15 million people that's in this country? We don't know where they are. We don't know what they're doing. We have no background on them. How unfair is it for those, particularly the females who are being raped, the drug cartels who are getting the fentanyl into America, killing 100,000 last year of our youth. You would think the Senate would put a rush on this. They're
Yeah.
due to go on recess next week. So all we can do is put forth the legislation and we'll see what happens. Am I hopeful? No, I'm not, because you look at their past record, they just haven't considered anything that we think is important. And nor do the Democrats. Not one Democrat signed on to our legislation. Not one Democrat. And it
Congressman,
just shows you.
it seems like a no-brainer though to have something like E-Verify nationwide. I mean, anybody who's against E-Verify basically is saying they're okay with business in this country exploiting these undocumented people coming across the border for cheap wages and exploiting them for other harsh work conditions on the job because they want to be able to hire illegal aliens. Uh, where do people stand? Why is there opposition to E-Verify? We see it working in certain states.
The main problems I heard with it is there were a growing number in the House who did not want to give the government any more control that they have. With E-Verify, it puts them on record, and they were just upset that the government has more control. And the government under the Biden administration is weaponizing every agency that within the government, and they're just worried about being on record, having the names that this administration will use primarily for votes and to get them to harvest votes, which is the only reason they're letting this many people in, is to keep power.
Maybe you can give us a little bit of a history lesson. I mean, I watch the news, it's my job, and I'm a little confused here. The laws are exactly the same under President Biden as they were under President Trump. No law has changed. There has been, when Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were in charge and they had a Democrat, Joe Biden, in the White House, they did not pass a new immigration law. So what changed? If the law didn't change between the Trump administration that had effective control of the border to what we've got now under Biden, what's the difference?
The difference is he doesn't enforce it. He's instructed, and I've been to the border, he's instructed the Border Patrol agents basically not to do their job. They were changing diapers and moving baby formula around when I got there. That's why they're so demoralized. The laws are only as good as those willing
Yeah.
to enforce it. And
Well,
so that's the main difference.
That's fair, but when the president is sworn in as the head of the executive branch, he swears to faithfully enforce the laws of the Constitution and of the United States. Clearly, he is not faithfully enforcing these laws based on your response.
He's not, and the claim that I've heard in Rules Committee, I've heard others during the debate, is that they're for dreamers. They're humanitarian. It's anything but that. It's an hypocrisy to say that anybody and under any conditions can come into this country and not have any background on them. I can tell you, when I was there, the government had cardboard on their front that basically had their name and had the fact that they could get on a plane without any identification. And they were issuing them driver's licenses in New York. And again, they were the ones claiming they had a right to vote, and that's what this present administration wants. In his interpretation, which is against every provision in the Constitution, he's just not enforcing it and is going unfettered.
It sounds like grounds for impeachment to me, but let's hold that thought and we'll continue our conversation with Congressman Ralph Norman of South Carolina in just a moment. We've got a little bit more on the border crisis and then what's going to happen with the debt ceiling and with the budget. That's next with Congressman Ralph Norman. Keep it here. It's O'Connor Tonight.